She calls me day and night. I'm sorry, girl, you just don't make me feel right. I never meant to make you cry, you were right.
Hello! Do you know HIV? This is very important for us to know. How come? Because this could alter the life for our future generation. Okay, let's check the explanation. What is HIV? HIV or human immunodeficiency virus, which is a virus that attacks of human immune system and cause it. HIV attack a type of white blood cell and that fight infection.
The cause virus enter the human body mainly through blood, semen, and vaginal secretion. After entering the body in human, the main target of HIV is CD4 lymphocyte because the virus and affinity for the CD4 surface molecule. This virus transforms its genetic information into a form that integrated into the genetic transform of the cell it attacks, which converts RNA into DNA using the enzyme reverse transcriptase. The proviral DNA is then integrated into the cell host and then programmed to form viral genes. Each time the cell the retrovirus enters divides information, the genetic of the virus is also inherited. The length of time a person is infected with HIV developing AIDS can vary between individuals. Live without treatment, the majority of people infected with HIV will develop signs of HIV-related illness within 5 to 10 years, although this can be shorter. Time between getting HIV and AIDS diagnosis is usually between 10 to 15 years, but sometimes longer. Antiretroviral therapy can slow disease progression by preventing virus replicate and therefore reduce the amount of virus in the blood infected person, known as the viral load.
Okay, next I would like to tell you about signs and symptoms of HIV and AIDS. Well, there are two paths of signs and symptoms of HIV and AIDS. Let's go in the first path. Well, in the first pass generally appears after 1 till 4 weeks of HIV infection. In this early pass, people with HIV will experience flu-like symptoms such as the first you will feel like extra fatigue. Fatigue can be both of early and late sign of HIV. The second, you will feel rash. Skin rashes can be occur earlier or later in the development of HIV and AIDS sign and symptom. The third one is confusion. Cognitive problems can be a sign of HIV-associated dementia, which usually develops late in the course of the disease. The fourth is about cold sores. Cold sores or oral herpes can be a sign of HIV infection. Herpes can also be a risk factor for contracting HIV. The next is about pneumonia. There are many different opportunistic infections and each can come at a different time. Pneumonia is one of the most common opportunistic infections of HIV infection. Well, the next is about night sweat. The half of people infected of HIV will occur early in HIV infection moderate activity of the day. During the ongoing stage, night sweat even when there is no physical activity whatsoever. The other sign and symptom of HIV and AIDS is the nail will be changed. The nail will be changed like splitting, thickening, and curling of the nail, or discoloration. It means black or brown with vertical or horizontal strips on your nail will be shown. The last one, if you are a girl, you will feel like irregular menstruation. Advanced HIV infection appears to increase the risk of experiencing irregular menstrual, such as shorter and less frequent period. Well, the next we talk about the second pass, sign and symptom HIV and AIDS. In this pass, people with HIV and AIDS do not show typical of sign and symptom and can even be more healthier. But at the end of the second pass, the white blood cells decrease so drastically that more severe symptoms began to appear. Well, the last one we talk about the last pass of sign and symptom.
Okay, now I will explain about HIV treatment. The treatment for HIV is called antiretroviral therapy or ART. ART is recommended for everyone who has HIV. ART cannot cure HIV, but HIV medicines help people with HIV live longer and healthier lives. ART also reduce the risk of HIV transmission. Okay, now how do the HIV medicine works? HIV attacks and destroys the infection-fighting CD4 cells of the immune system. After that, HIV medicines prevent HIV from multiplying or making copies of itself, which reduces the amount of HIV in the body. Then, HIV medicines also reduce the risk of HIV transmission. And then, a main goal of HIV treatment is to reduce a person's viral load to an undetectable level.
So, we move into the prevention of HIV. How can a person reduce the risk of getting HIV? Anyone can get HIV, but you can take steps to protect yourself from HIV. What that step? First step is get tested for HIV. Talk to your partner about HIV testing and get tested before you have sex. The second one, choose less risky sexual behavior. HIV is mainly spread by having anal or vaginal sex without a condom or without taking medicine to prevent or treat HIV. The third one is use condoms every time you have sex. The fourth one is limit your number of sexual partners. The more partners you have, the more likely you are to have a partner with poorly controlled HIV or to have a partner with a sexually transmitted disease or STD. And the fifth one is get tested and treated for STD. Insist that your partner get tested and treated too. Having an STD can increase your risk of getting HIV or spreading it to others. The next one is talk to your healthcare provider about pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP. PrEP is an HIV prevention option for people who do not have HIV but who are at risk of getting HIV. PrEP involves taking a specific HIV medicine every day to reduce the risk of getting HIV through sex or injection drug use. And the last but not least is do not inject drugs. But if you do, use only sterile drug injection equipment and water, and never share your equipment with others. Now we are questioning about how can a person who is HIV positive prevent passing HIV to others? And take HIV medicine daily. Treatment with HIV medicines called antiretroviral therapy. ART helps people with HIV live longer, healthier lives. ART cannot cure HIV, but it can reduce the amount of HIV in the body. Call it the viral load. One of the main goals of HRT is to reduce a person's viral load to an undetectable level. An undetectable level viral load means that the level of HIV in the blood is too low to be detected by a viral load test. People with HIV who maintain an undetectable viral load have effectively no risk of transmitting HIV to an HIV-negative partner through sex. Here are some other steps you can take to prevent HIV transmissions. First one, use condoms correctly every time you have sex. The second one is talk to your partner about taking PrEP. The last but not least is if you inject drugs, do not share your needles, syringes, or other drugs equipment with your partners.
HIV or AIDS is the biggest challenge, a major disaster facing this country, and we expect something more specific and forensic.
Because of the lack of education about HIV or AIDS, discrimination, fear, panic, and surround us.
But it must be people with HIV and AIDS have nothing to fear. They are people like all of us, and each has a story to tell. These people need to be helped, embraced, and not dismissed.
We need to open our hearts and minds to them, and we may learn that we are all the same.
History will certainly judge us harshly if we do not respond with all the energy and resources we can give to fight against HIV or AIDS.
Make HIV your worst enemy in the world. Win the fight against HIV.
Prevention is better than cure, especially in the case of something where is no cure at all.
HIV and AIDS is a disease that is difficult to talk about.
But HIV or AIDS is not stronger than good.
So because of that, let's be aware of HIV or AIDS. Add your knowledge about the dangers of this disease.
So let's try to
get
prevent
HIV or AIDS.